Hey, what's going on everybody? This is NGS and thank you so much for watching. Welcome back to my E3 2015 predictions video, what I expect to go on during this year's trade show that's being held in just a couple of weeks. Now, the regular theme of this video is that I'm not going to be predicting what games are going to be announced, what franchises are going to be returning, because one thing I've noticed as the years go on, I've been watching E3 for a very long time now. A lot of the predictions people keep making never end up coming true. Things just don't go according to plan, and that's why a lot of people get disappointed. They just set their expectations too high. So I'm, I guess, going into this realistically expecting things that we know are going to happen. Of course, surprises are going to be placed here and there that they don't want you to know about. But overall, I'm looking at it more from, I guess, a business side of things than, just hype factor, like, we're going to see this game announced. Anyway, we touched on Microsoft and Square Enix in the other videos. Today, what I want to do is talk about Sony. Now, Sony is in a very interesting position this generation with the PlayStation 4. They are on top. For those of you guys who aren't wondering, the PlayStation 4 has sold 20 plus million units and it's only been on the market for a year and a half at this point. That's just insane for a console, especially considering Sony and what they've gone through. Sony has definitely gone through a change in the past couple of years. I think that with the disaster that was the PlayStation 3 launch in 2006, that really opened up Sony's eyes to things, in addition to the financial situation that they're in. It's no shocker to anyone that Sony is not in a good seat financially. They've made some pretty stupid mistakes over the past couple of years. When the competition was advancing in technology, they were just pretty much content with doing their own thing and just really didn't work out, to say the least. You see what's been going on with their TV division, their cell phone division. They sold off their laptop division. So things really aren't looking well for Sony outside of the gaming division. PlayStation, on the other hand, has done nothing but profit for them in the past couple of years, which is actually pretty cool for them. And this is something that they're investing heavily in. If you look at like the past whenever they've held the financial meetings and the reports that come out, they're focusing more heavily now on PlayStation than they ever did. Mainly because that's their only moneymaker right now. It's what is successful to them. And kudos to Sony for sticking to their roots and becoming humble, because that's one thing I think that a lot of people just didn't care for last generation. Up until when the PlayStation 3, I think, hit its stride in 2009, they were very arrogant. They thought that the PlayStation 3 was the best console, and you didn't understand as the consumer. You don't understand this vision we're going towards, and we're just going to put out a system that costs $600, complicated architecture out the wazoo. So it's good to see that Sony has learned from a developer side of things. The console's a lot more easier to develop for. They're more aggressive nowadays with helping people put their games on the PlayStation 4, and it was cheaper out the gate. So that's, many reasons why the PlayStation 4 has succeeded up until now. And it's really interesting because, despite the PlayStation 4 being such a success, it really doesn't have much on the console to play. I mean, of course, we're not talking about third-party games, multiplats and such. If you're looking at the exclusives for the PS4, they're really not there. Granted, there are exclusives, don't get me wrong, but it kind of has the reverse effect of the Wii U. While the Wii U has some really awesome exclusives from Nintendo, because Nintendo puts out great first-party games, Sony, on the other hand, they have developers, but the games that we've seen in the past couple of years just really haven't given us that whole, hey, this is why you need a PlayStation 4, this is why our system is awesome. I mean, it launched the Killzone Shadowfall and Knack, two games that really weren't stellar, to say the least. I mean, you've had things going on with the Order 1886 and a couple of other exclusives here and there. And about the only real exclusives that, honestly, I can say were really great and lived up to the hype were Bloodborne, first and foremost, and Infamous Second Son, which is debatable amongst some gamers whether or not it's, a good game in the series compared to previous games. So while Sony does have exclusives on the system, they're really not anything to write home about. They're just okay. Not to say they're bad. 7s out of 10s aren't bad. I don't know why people are making it out to be. But they're just AAA games in budget. They're not AAA games in quality, if that makes sense. And another thing that's really gotten people thinking, like, how the heck is this thing selling, is that all their exclusives have been pushed back to next year. Uncharted 4 was their key marquee title for 2015, pushed back to spring 2016. Ratchet and Clank was another one. It got pushed back in addition to the movie being delayed. And there were some other games here and there that got pushed back that were announced for 2015 and now going to 2016. So you gotta wonder, what is Sony planning for this fall, because they really have nothing, to say the least. I mean, you have like some of the smaller games here and there, like Until Dawn, that just got a release date, but that's not a system seller. Sure, it's going to be an interesting game for what it is, but no one's out going and buying PS4s for that. You have some of the niche games from the Japanese developers, which of course they have their audience and we're going to buy them, but that's not really a system seller. Whereas you look at Microsoft on their hand, they're going to kill it this holiday season with Halo, Tomb Raider, Gears, Forza. Well, Gears thing's kind of rumored, but it's expected they're going to do a remaster. So what does Sony have planned? That is what the only time I'm going to speculate in this video. I think they're going to drop a couple of bombs at the show, whether or not it's going to be third-party exclusive deals or, you know, bringing back franchises. I don't know, but they've been really hush-hush to say the least when it comes to their exclusive lineup, and they're really focusing heavily on the next couple of shows. E3, I think there's that game event in Paris. I think they're not skipping Gamescom, but they're only going to be on the show floor. They're not going to announce stuff. So I'm just curious because they are so quiet. It's not like Nintendo, where Nintendo, if they don't have anything coming out for the season, they'll just flaunt it like, hey, we got Mario Party 10. That'll tide people over for like 6.5 minutes. But Sony, it's just, I don't see anything worth owning a PlayStation 4 that you can't get on Xbox One or get on the PC. So it's going to be interesting to say at least how they handle that. What I think they might do is I think they might cruise by this holiday season because they already are well ahead of the competition with the Xbox One, I think, being at like 10 to 13 million sales. The Wii U, I think, is in 9 to 10 million sales. I don't know. So I think they might cruise by this holiday season just on goodwill, multi-plats, and just, you know, providing more, you know, quality experiences for people, not necessarily in the exclusive department. Now let's talk about some of the things that we know they're going to focus heavily on. First and foremost, the PlayStation ecosystem. It was something I talked about a couple of years ago. That's what Sony is focusing on now, whereas Microsoft is just now getting the Windows experience with Xbox. Sony's been pushing that for a while. With the PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, PlayStation Vita, the entire PlayStation family, they're trying to create this ecosystem. And when you have services like PlayStation Now, services like PlayStation View, PS Plus, cross-compatibility, they're really trying to get you to own at least 2 PlayStation products. Be it a main console and a handheld, a main console and a set-top box like the PlayStation TV, or a main console and a Sony TV for PlayStation Now streaming. So they're going to focus heavily on that because that's something that they are, you know, backing. In addition to PlayStation's cloud approach, you know, with PlayStation Now, that's something that they invested heavily in. They acquired Gaikai, so they are going to talk about that to some extent, probably detail the new lineup and give it its first formal push, because while PlayStation Now has had some controversy because of its pricing, you know, it officially launched with decent games and a decent price point. It finally had a subscription service. So this is going to be the first time that they can properly re-reveal PlayStation Now to the public. So they're probably going to do that as well. So, you know, expect the things from Sony as far as the ecosystem goes. They want to build this thing up. They want to give value to PlayStation Plus. They want to make sure that people know the brand in addition to and in the same way as people know the Xbox Live branding. So expect that for the most part from Sony. But I mean, other than that, this might be their safest conference, to say the least. I really don't see them going out of their way and, you know, going above and beyond. I think they're going to do the bare minimum and we're going to get a couple of surprises here and there. But I think they're just going to be focused on building the PlayStation ecosystem. Granted, like I said, this is all speculatory. Who knows what could happen here. But I'm interested, to say the least, because this is a different Sony than years prior. This isn't the Sony that just hypes up the console and you guys don't understand. This is a more humble Sony who actually understands things, because they can't afford to not understand things with the PlayStation 4. This is their last shot at a success. This is the only thing they have going for them. The PlayStation Vita, on the other hand, I mean, I love it. I love the Vita. It's got a great library for into Japanese games and only Japanese games. But that's not at the forefront of the Sony library anymore. It's not what they're pushing. And I'm going to do a video on that as we get closer to E3. Maybe after E3, because I want to see exactly what they're going to do with the Vita. But the Vita is just that. It's a thing that exists. And that's all it'll ever be. But again, more on that in the other video. So what do you guys think Sony is going to unveil at this particular conference? What do you expect them to unveil? What do you want them to unveil? Let me know down in the comments section. I'm NGS signing off for this E3 2015 prediction, and I will catch you guys later. Peace.